Okay, we're going to talk about triangles. The triangle is my personal favorite submission, very high percentage submission, a lot of places to do it from, a lot of setups to get there. But I like to break it up into different phases. I think that's where most beginners kind of go wrong and lose a position and get their guard pass from trying it, is they kind of jump the gun a little bit. So I want to break it down into steps and talk about what we need at each of these steps. So I like to think of the triangle, armbar, omoplata, these upper body submissions that we look for from the guard as very similar. So like no technique exists in isolation. So there's some common things between all of these. For these submissions from the guard, what we're gonna need is elbow and knee separation. So my partner is in like a combat-based stance, one knee up, one knee down, his elbow is tucked to his knee. It's gonna be very hard for me to get my hips around his head to attack the arm bars, the triangles, the omoplatas. So there are a few ways we can create this elbow knee separation. There's some straightforward ways like sleeve-based guards, like collar sleeve, double sleeve, the laser guard position. We'll turn this way. So with these, I can create elbow knee separation by physically controlling my partner's hand and potentially stepping on his hip, doubling up on the hand, doing things like this to create this elbow knee separation. Now, once the separation is there, now I have a clear path for me to lift my hips and start locking my legs around my partner's head. This is the first step, getting to this position, what we call the diamond phase of the triangle. So I want to make sure I can reliably get here and maintain this position before I focus on trying to actually lock up the submission, so I don't risk giving my partner a free guard pass. So again, some ways we can do this. Say my partner is standing. So common situations, being in the collar and sleeve, I can step on his hip, control the sleeve. Now I'm creating tension by pulling as much as I'm driving with my legs. So I'm driving with my legs and my hips to pull his elbow away from his body. So again, now the space is open for me to lift my hips, start locking my legs around my partner's head. This is one way. I also like doing this position from double sleeve, very similar, stepping on the hip, stretching my partner, breaking his posture as well to bring his head and shoulders closer to my body. So the distance I have to travel with my hips isn't as far, but same idea. Once I've broken his posture, separated the knee from the elbow, I can retract one knee to my chest, lift my hips, clamp, lock up the diamond, start pulling him back down. Here. One other sleeve-based option I really like is from the laser guard, which is a 2-on-1 grip where I go cross grip on the sleeve and then I grab behind the tricep here. Very similar to the collar and sleeve position, but again, instead of holding collar and sleeve, I'm achieving the same thing by cross sleeve grip behind the tricep. Now same thing, I break his posture by pulling, I drive here to create that elbow knee separation to the hip, and now once I've achieved those things, I lift, calf clamps behind the neck, I cross my ankles, making sure there's no space here, and then I pull my partner back down. So those are with controlling the sleeves, but it's very straightforward. So oftentimes if I'm controlling my partner's sleeves in these positions, he's very aware of the threat of these triangles, arm bars, omoplatas. So if we want these things, sometimes it's a little bit easier for us if we get a little tricky and use different guards where I'm not controlling his hands directly, but I'm using off balances to make my partner post his hands on the mat. Now I've achieved the same thing. I've broken his posture so his head and shoulders are closer to my hips. I've made him post his hand on the mat so his elbow and knee are separated. Now I can do very similar things of stepping my hips here like this to climb from De La Riva or from X guard positions as well. Here, kind of same idea. Start off balancing, boom, create the opportunity to shoot the triangle for the diamond phase. Now, once we have achieved this, we've broken the posture, separated the elbow from the knee, our hips are lifted, I've crossed my ankles. I want to make sure I can get to this and I've taken away all the space and he's not immediately pulling his head out or cutting the angle. So just because I shoot for the triangle, that doesn't mean I have to commit 100% to trying to finish. Oftentimes, like he'll go for it, but maybe he tucks his elbow or tucks his chin and it's not quite there. So I want to go back to my guard. If I feel like I shoot it, I don't lock it. I want to be willing to just retract back to my guard, make sure I'm not getting my guard pass, work more off balances, attacks, look for another opportunity. Maybe the second or third time I lock it up and I actually have the bite that I need where he's not able to just slip his head out right away, which is the most common thing you're going to run into against a high level of partner is not them dropping their hips and posturing what they're gonna do is they're actually gonna lift their hips, duck their head, and slip out. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. If he's standing, for example, I shoot here and he just ducks his head out. But if I try to overcommit, now he can go around my legs, start putting me on the defense. So I want to avoid this. So again, once I've created a situation where I feel secure in my attachment, now I want to pull him back down. I want to drop my hips to the mat, and I want my spine to be like not rounded this way where it's easy for him to stack me, but I want to lock my ankles, pull him down, and now I'm arching my back. So you can drive a toy car under my back right now. So I do this, I've locked it up, I pull him down, and then I start framing against this arm that's not in the triangle. So now when he starts driving into me or trying to cut an angle to get around my legs, it's very difficult. I'm not allowing my hips to go over my head. That's where I'm very weak in the position. So I've gotten here, I've maintained the position, he's not pulling his head out, he's not cutting the angle, and he's not stacking me. This is my cue to start transitioning to the next phase, which is where I'm going to focus on taking this arm all the way across the body. So I'm gonna lift my hips so that my torso is straight. I pull his arm all the way across, and then I drop my hips back down and I start crunching forward. Now I'm starting to round my back. So I'm using my stomach to block his tricep from coming back across. So now that I'm here, I'm going to grab my shin on the leg that's over the top of his head, and I'm gonna frame on the inside of my knee. Only once I have these grips will I unlock the triangle. I don't wanna unlock the triangle to adjust without controlling, because then he's just gonna pull his head and his arm out. So I'm here, I've got it locked up, I'm pinching my knees, I'm pulling my heels to my butt, grab the shin, frame on the inside of my knee. So now I'm gonna step on his hip, not on the mat because he'll be able to follow me. So I step on his hip and I start shoulder walking backwards to stretch him out. But I'm also trying to pull my heel past his shoulder here like this. That's what's going to make it easiest for me to lock this up here. So depending on how long your legs are, you might be able to fully lock it up with his shoulder still on the inside, but it's going to be harder to finish. So I'm here, shoulder walking backwards, and then I cut an angle, pulling my heel past. Now I lock the triangle up, keeping my toes engaged, and I'm squeezing my knees, but I'm not just squeezing my knees. I'll let go so Matt doesn't die. Captain Thunder thighs over here. So it's like, once I get it locked up, I'm pinching my knees and then I'm sliding my legs together like this. So I'm creating this triangle shape with my legs, and then it's all about making that smaller here like this. So it's not just squeezing. And if I do everything properly, I shouldn't need to pull my partner's head down as well. Sometimes I can help keep their posture broken and make it harder for them to escape, but the real finishing mechanic comes from my thigh on one side of his neck and then his shoulder on the other side of the neck. And again, I'm going to get that squeeze here, here, cutting the angle. And then lastly, some additional things that can help with that once we get everything all locked up is, instead of grabbing here, I'll underhook his arm or his shoulder to help pull me to the side and get a really good angle. And then that helps me cut the angle a little bit better. It makes it harder for him to escape. And it also opens up other like submission opportunities as well. If I start hooking that arm, I can potentially go for arm bars from the position as well. So these are kind of the things I'm looking for when going for a triangle, and then also keeping in the mind things I'm looking for to know when to let go of the triangle as well. Hope this helps.